All right, I just want to thank Mike so much for allowing us to have our press conference here in this wonderful hangar, and especially under those circumstances. My gosh, what a great job all the volunteers did here on taking care of things, and then accommodating us on top of it. Thank you so much.
The hangar got a little crowded for today's event because of a thunderstorm with hail, and which is I'm more afraid of hail than I am of anything else. We had all of our airplanes tied outside for the show. We had a luncheon for the founders of Sun and Fun. They call it the Pioneer Luncheon, and these are the people who back 48 years ago founded this fun fly-in. They were all having luncheon here, and the storm's rolling in. Finally, we had to call it mid-lunch. We evacuated them into the clubhouse and turned this in from a dining room to an aircraft carrier hangar deck in 15 minutes. It looks a little different than we originally planned, but it was a lot of fun getting it done, and we're really honored that the King Schools is here visiting us here in Lakeland.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming to the King Schools press conference today, especially under the circumstances. We've had some big squalls come through, a lot of rain. You all have come through a lot of rain and difficulty to get here, and we sure appreciate that, especially under the circumstances. All the airplanes have been crammed into the hangar here to get them safe from the storm, and we're thrilled to be able to still use this space for the press conference. So thank you all for coming. We have some great topics to talk about today. One of the biggest ones is how King Schools is switching our focus. I wouldn't say switching our focus, let's say adding our focus to really address the needs of flight schools and flight instructors, because we've got this massive number of pilots that are needed in the industry. We're looking at numbers of, somewhere around 600,000 new pilots needed over the next 10 years. So we're on that and working with flight schools. We're going to talk about that today, how we've developed a new concierge service to help flight schools achieve 141 certification, help them write their TCOs. You'll hear from Brian Hough about that. We're very excited about it. We have the opportunity to introduce to you our latest NAFI scholarship winner, Leah Murphy, and we're going to have NAFI come up and join us here on stage and talk about Leah. She's wonderful. She's an example of why we do scholarships, and every one of our scholarship winners have been just a pleasure to get to know. They're doing great things in industry. Leah's no different. You'll hear more about her as we go. So we have that to talk about, and we also have a brand new course, the Fundamentals of Instruction course, in which I had the privilege of being able to be the instructor from beginning to end on that course. And John and Martha will talk a little bit about that. So we have some great topics we're looking forward to present to you. So let's go ahead and get started.
Well, hello, everybody. Okay. Thank you for being here.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the Fundamentals of Instruction test. There's an FAA test called Fundamentals of Instruction. It's based on the Flight Instructor Handbook. And over the years, people have had a lot of trouble with the Fundamentals of Instruction test that the FAA administers, because it seems irrelevant to everything that we learn as flight instructors. And basically, what the FAA is doing with that test is they want to promote the idea that people who are now teaching know how to teach and know the vocabulary of teaching. And the Fundamentals of Instruction test used to be based on really an obscure vocabulary. What's the word I'm supposed to remember?
Well, you've already proven that it's a difficult vocabulary. Automaticity. As if anybody can pronounce it.
And is one of the words they ask about on the test. There's a whole bunch of words that are used as words of art in instructing that the FAA wants to make sure that people know. And historically, the Fundamentals of Instruction test and the training for it seemed irrelevant and not much fun, because it was a vocabulary that nobody associated with. One of the things that Barry did, he took on the idea that we would do this King Schools modern FOI course. And Barry not only is the instructor on camera for it, but he helped create that course and drove that course and created the purpose of the course. And the purpose of the course, as we understand it, as Barry did it, is to make the fundamentals of instruction relevant to people so that they can remember it, understand it, and his delivery of it is very fun. And that's one of our core values. K-Schools is in the business, we think, of taking relatively complicated material, clarifying it, simplifying it, and making it fun. And Barry certainly has embraced that and demonstrated that with this Fundamentals of Instruction course. So it says the FOI, and by the way, there's a history behind Fundamentals of Instruction because the FAA came out with a new Fundamentals of Instruction course without collaborating with the aviation community. And the FAA had this test, and people flunked the test in a big way, and it was disruptive to the aviation community because they hadn't collaborated with us. And so there was a big round of complaints about the Fundamentals of Instruction test that they came out with a few years back. And we went to the administration of the FAA and said the FAA is not collaborating with the community. It's an adversarial relationship. We need to improve that relationship. As a result, we wound up going to Washington, basically, four times a year, and we did this working group for Airman Certification Standards, and that's the impetus that started the Airman Certification Standards, the idea that we would collaborate with each other. And it was a very moving collaboration, it was a very powerful collaboration, and it started with a very adversarial relationship. At the time, the FAA was in the business of keeping what they were going to put on the test secret so that we couldn't prompt people on what they were going to study. And part of that was the FOI. And we said that it shouldn't be secret, it should be something we collaborated with each other on. And that's why we had the new Airman Certification Standards as part of that collaboration. And so Barry really embraced that and created this course. Maybe would you like the microphone back?
Finally. Basically what Barry did is took the vocabulary of education, which is what the FAA put as far as the Fundamentals of Instructing part of the Aviation Instructor's Handbook, which very few pilots knew anything about. He took that FAA language on the vocabulary of education and translated into terms that pilots in general in the aviation community were familiar with, concepts that were much more relatable and easier to understand so that people would come away not with a rote memorization of this is the hierarchy of this part of the learning process, but as a flight instructor I need to do this and do this and do this and do. He made it practical, and more than that, he made it fun. So it's out, it's brand new, high definition. Barry did a fabulous job on it, and we're really pleased to share that with the aviation community. Barry might want this mic back.
He's going to get it. I want to talk a little bit more about Barry.
I don't need the mic back.
No, go ahead. So basically, Barry, a few months ago, maybe about a year ago, started instructing on the King videos, and we did a press release on it, and people said, well, we understand you're not instructing anymore, and yes, we are, but we felt that Barry should understand that and participate in it, and Barry there's a lot of negative about it because you get a lot of attention and a lot of opinions, and not all of them are favorable when you're an instructor on a video. And Barry had to embrace the idea that he was going to get all of this comment and all of this opinion, and he's now doing it, and now he gets the microphone.
All right, thank you very much, John. Well, I have to say, it was something that I was hesitant to do and felt like it was something that was needed in the company. And I'm happy to do the instruction. I love teaching, and I'm having a good time doing the teaching. We started moving and doing some shots outdoors and flying during instructing and so on. So I'm having a good time with it. And the fundamentals of instruction was a big project. It was a lot of fun to do, primarily because we're taking relatively academic language and trying to figure out how that applies to flight instruction. And I completely understand where the FAA is going. You have a lot of brand new flight instructors, as I was at one point, that have never really taught anything in their life up to that point. So there's certain tools that you need to have under your belt in order to be able to recognize learning plateaus, issues with students, how they're reacting, how they're responding, and how you can respond to that in order to ensure that they're getting the learning, they're getting the changes in behavior that you're looking for based on experience. And so there's a lot of really great material in the fundamentals of instruction portion of the Aviation Instructor's Handbook. The problem is that it was all written by academicians. They're people that are steeped in the language and in the terminology that is very academic. If you were to go to a college and get a degree, a teaching degree, you'd probably benefit from knowing all of that language so that you can communicate within that community. Within the aviation community, what's important is what's underneath that language. It's the psychology of teaching. It's knowing how to recognize issues that students are having in the process of learning and how to address those in order that they are able to absorb and learn and break out of plateaus and so on. And that's what's really in the FOI course. The language is there because you have to have it. You've got to go and pass your FOI test. But we've tried to make it practical so that it's not just a matter of passing the test. It's a matter of becoming a better instructor. Exactly. So that's in the course. It is available right now. It's on our website. And those of you that are members of the press here will hopefully automatically receive a press release. If anybody would like to receive a press release, please talk to John Dowd. He's our VP of Marketing and will be available around after the press conference, and we'll be able to include you in the list that will receive the releases. So that's the FOI course. The next thing that we have to talk about is, and I was mentioning at the beginning, that we have a really big focus on helping to address this pilot shortage by helping flight schools be successful. And one of the areas where flight schools need help, and I'm talking about a lot of smaller flight schools, is in making the transition from Part 91 and 61 training to Part 141 training. And that's a big step for a flight school to make. It means that the FAA is suddenly looking over their shoulder, approving their curriculum, following up with audits, and that flight school has responsibilities in terms of providing reports. But the benefit is that it opens up a lot more opportunity for the flight schools. And following 141 syllabus ensures that customers have a good experience. It also opens up pathways to student financing, to potentially working with the VA in order to bring in more customers that are able to take advantage of financial benefits to get their flight training done. So we've seen that. We have Part 141 syllabi all the way from private through CFI. So using the Kingdom schools and particularly the Cessna flight training products that we've developed, a school can get 141 approval for an ab initio program all the way from private through CFI. And we think that those tools are super valuable, but what we want to do is to help flight schools adopt that training curriculum, help them get that 141 approval. And one of the things that I mentioned is that Brian has been a chief flight instructor for many Part 141 schools in the past and has tremendous experience in writing brand new training curriculum and getting it approved approved by the FAA. And some of that training curriculum is new ways of being able to train. And I'm going to turn the mic over now to Brian Hough, and he's going to tell you a little bit about a new initiative that he's created, which is called a Concierge service. And by Concierge service, we mean we're going to hold the hands of flight instructors and chief flight instructors and those that are responsible in flight schools of their training curriculum and help them through the process, if they're not 141 approved, to get 141 approved, and if they are, to possibly take a look at new curriculum that they can adopt in order to improve their business, improve their overall, of course, then objective overall profitability for the flight schools. So Brian?
Thank you, Barry, John, Martha. It's and everybody else coming out in the rain. One of the ideas that I wanted to see is I came up with the name Concierge Service. Any of you that have ever stayed in a hotel, okay, know that they have a level that if you achieve, if you are that diamond member, that platinum member, or whatever the hotel calls it, they're going to have a concierge person. That person will help you with everything from making dinner reservations, concert reservations, your luggage, anything that you need, okay, is a concierge. That's what King Schools has now developed. And we're doing this to help the industry. What we're doing is, yes, all of our business partners that we're already with, we want to help and we want to help them grow. But some of the numbers that Barry did, I did a little bit of research, wrote a few of them down just so that I get them correct. But if we look at where we're at in the aviation industry, yes, during COVID, we had a little bit of a fall off, but I looked in 2019, this is our national daily average of number of people that go through the TSA checkpoints for use of airlines. We hit 2.5 million people that went through those per day. Okay, we had a little bit of a lull during COVID. We are back and have exceeded that point now. So the slowdown in the airlines is over, but what happened during that time? Okay, we remember that several of the airlines, because of that shortage, offered early retirement to a lot of our airline pilots that were out there. So if you were within 10 years of retirement, they allowed that. So, but if we back up before COVID, they were giving significant bonuses to pilots to try to attract new pilots and get people involved in this. So we're back to that level, but now we have to cover this pilot shortage from the people that actually took early retirement. So there's a lot of filling that. So what does that mean we need? Well, Boeing came out with their study. They say that we need 130,000 new airline pilots or new commercial airline pilots in the next 19 years. Well, let's break that number down. That's 6,842 new pilots per year, 570 new commercial pilots each month. What have we done? Prior to 2019, we were averaging 1,000 new commercial pilots a year, the whole U.S. So we dropped to 731 last year during COVID. Okay, a lot of the check rides were deferred for various reasons. We surged up to over the 3,000 mark, but our average, if we look at a 7-year span, has been around that 1,000 mark. Okay, so now why did I lead up to that? What's my heart, my goal is in order for us to grow, you go to your flight schools, most of the flight schools are full. Most of the flight schools are busy. They can't help us do a 4-fold, a 5-fold growth. So what do we need? We need new industry programs, new flight schools to come on board. We need new colleges and universities. So our concierge program is built for that new flight school that wants to start a flight program but doesn't know how to do it. We have a board of directors at a community college that just called me last week. Okay, they want to start an aeronautical program, have no idea how to do it. Okay, that's where myself, with my background, and our King Schools team are here to help. The concierge service is free of charge. we are providing this to our business partnerships that we will help you write degrees, write course syllabus, provide products, show you how to teach it, and set it up all the way through your FAA approvals. If you're at a flight school and you want to become 141 approved, because that helps you move towards partnerships with universities, with Veterans Administration, for international students, different things that are out there. We'll help you with every bit of that. We have 95 courses available, and we'll show you where we can plug those in so that you can use that. So that's the idea behind the Concierge service, is we now want to be at your service and providing something, for those industry to help that shortage by growing, because there's more than enough business for everybody that's out there. So we're here for questions, anything that you've got. I'm excited to be a member of the team. I'm an outside the box thinker and have done a little bit of everything that they mentioned. So we're here to help. Any questions anybody has, we'll be here after. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks, Brian. Well, I don't think you can listen to Brian without getting excited, not only just about the future of pilot training in the United States, but also that King Schools is stepping up to that challenge and stepping up in a big way. I think that idea of being able to provide the level of help that we can, based on Brian's experience and other members of our team, is really unique in the industry. We can and will hold flight school's hands all the way through that what can be an onerous process of writing a TCO, but not just writing a TCO, but writing a really good TCO, because we know what the pitfalls are and what you should include, most importantly maybe what you shouldn't include in a TCO that's going to end up tying your hands down the road or what have you. So that advice is available for free, and we're very excited to be able to offer that to the community. Okay, moving on. And this is a particularly fun topic to discuss. We started out, I think, 6 years ago in granting scholarships with NAFI, together with NAFI, and particularly targeted to the CFI community, and ensuring that we can do our part in terms of identifying people that are very special, and not only very special, but could maybe use a little bit of a leg up. Although in every case, they're all self-starters, they're all wonderful people. They're going to figure out how to get their goals accomplished regardless. But at King Schools, we're very pleased to be able to be part of their lives. They're amazing people to get to know. Every one of our winners has been wonderful to get to know and to watch their career progress, and not only know about their histories, which are interesting in themselves, but to make friends for life, really, as they progress through the industry. And this year is no exception to that. We have a wonderful winner who's here. Leah Murphy is sitting over here, and let's give her just a quick round of applause. Leah has had some special challenges in her final semester at Embry-Riddle University. She was involved in a car accident, which set her back on her goals, but only to a small degree. She had the maybe displeasure of watching some of her classmates go on and continue their aviation training while she was in recovery and so on. But after having a spinal fusion, I believe, she went on to continue to get her CFI certificates for helicopter, both her CFI helicopter and her instrument CFI helicopter, which is a very big step. And she's gone on and is now working with WBOC in Maryland as a helicopter news reporter.
Well, the view from Chopper 16 is something we have all enjoyed for years here on WBOC, but there's been a change in the cockpit we wanted to tell you about. Jacqueline Carley went for a ride with our newest helicopter pilot, who is something of a pioneer.
She might not consider herself a trailblazer.
I had to have people who paved the way for me.
But every time Leah Murphy flips the switches, fires up the engine, and lifts off, she goes where no woman has gone before, as the helicopter pilot for WBOC.
Yeah, I'd never been in a helicopter before, but I knew it's what I wanted to do.
She made that declaration to her parents for the first time when she was 14.
I told my parents I wanted to be a pilot, and they told me that's something women don't do.
Daunted but not deterred, she eventually went to flight school, where she became a certified commercial helicopter pilot. But it wasn't immediately a match made in heaven.
I was with my instructor, and then there was just so much to take in, and I was like, maybe I'm not meant for this, because we had to go over every instrument, we had to go over every system, and he was just telling me everything. So much. So overwhelming.
But as she gained confidence in her skills and her machine,
these are our test switches just to make sure that the lights work properly.
The dream became a reality.
My dad would be so proud if he knew I knew how to do an oil change.
The job isn't necessarily glamorous.
I had no idea I had to know that. I thought you just, to be a driver, you just know how to drive the car. Why should you need to know how the engine runs in the helicopter?
And she says it isn't always easy being one of the few female pilots.
So they assume that I'm always in training, but never actually the pilot.
Murphy says the real trailblazers were women like Marine Captain Jennifer Harris, the first woman from Murphy's home state of Massachusetts to die in Operation Iraqi Freedom. She says Harris and other female pilots inspired her to do the work to make it happen.
I wanted to be a pilot. I was told no. It was able to work out, and I got to where I wanted to be. And I would say that's probably the best part.
Proving that dreams really can come true. In Wicomico County, Jacqueline Carley, WBOC News, Delmarva's news leader.
Well, hello, Leah.
Hi, John.
And I'm slowly learning to pronounce Leah's name. And
Karen Kalishek, who's the chair of NAFI, National Association of Flight Instructors, and this scholarship is given jointly with NAFI, and as Barry says, we've been doing this for about 6 years now, and I think that video gave a lot of the information about Leah and what's coming up. She is going to be using the scholarship to pursue her fixed-wing CFI certificate, and you've already got a pretty good start on getting that done, don't you, Leah?
Yeah, working towards it right now.
And the scholarship is $5,000 worth of cash to spend for it. And every King Schools course for lifetime, you'll have a key to that for the rest of your life. And that's we think that's worth about, what did we say, $18,000 total. So $13,000 for the course and $5,000 cash, and you have access to all the King Schools courses, including the flight instructor courses, which you'll use because you're already a helicopter flight instructor and on your way to becoming an airplane flight instructor. So, Barry, anything you want to say?
No, I think we're just super pleased to have Leah as our 2021 winner and 2022 winner. I'm sorry. I'm just off a year. That's no problem. But thank you. Maybe Karen has a couple words to say.
Well, thank you very much. Obviously, I had a chance to talk to Leah. I'm very impressed with her backstory, and as a flight instructor myself, I'm thrilled to hold a fixed wing also. And we will, of course, NAFI is thrilled to partner with over these years of being able to offer the scholarship. Looking forward to our strong relationship continuing. Wonderful new products, the concierge service, and along with King Schools, NAFI is very enthusiastic, and we'll be announcing some additional initiatives to help build the CFI population, which will help avoid a bottleneck of building our need for more pilots in general population. So again, thank you for your ongoing generosity, and congratulations once again, Leah.
Leah, it's a privilege to know you. You're a strong person, as all these flight instructor candidates are. Good to see you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Leah.
You need the handshake.
Which handshake and what?
Let's give
There you go. Step out of this one. So looking into the future, we've already mentioned that this big shortage of pilots exists and will continue to exist. We didn't talk about the shortage of mechanics. So as we grow the pilot population, of course, mechanics are also needed to maintain those aircraft that are flying. And King Schools already provides courses to help mechanics pass their written exams, their general airframe and power plant. You can expect to see some new announcements from King Schools in the near future regarding how we're going to go beyond just test prep in order to help mechanics very quickly and easily achieve certification, but also how we have some ideas about the business opportunities that exist for flight schools that are already hiring mechanics and using mechanics to maintain their aircraft, and how they may be able to expand their business to incorporate mechanic training as well. So that's another big area within aviation that needs to be addressed, and something that King Schools is paying attention to, and you can expect to hear more about. So in general, I'm sure you're getting the feeling that flight schools, flight instructors, and so on are becoming a bigger mix of King Schools business. Traditionally, if we go back 10, 20 years, King Schools has largely had a business-to-consumer approach, direct marketing to folks that are using our products directly. We've moved more and more toward B2B side of our business and supplying our courses through flight schools, through colleges, through universities. And that's something that we're paying a lot of attention to, because in order to address the pilot shortage, as Brian was saying, it can't really be done on a one-to-one basis. We need to enable flight schools. We need to enable flight instructors to be able to be even more effective in their training. And that's something that we're very much focused on and will be focused on in the future. New training programs are coming up. One of the areas where we can bring more pilots into the industry, and especially fixed-wing pilots that are needed for the airlines, is through rotorcraft transitions, especially for pilots coming out of the military. We have a syllabus already that has been approved by POIs at many flight schools and is in use today. In the past, it's been somewhat limited. We're looking to take that syllabus and expand it out and make it available to all flight schools, and especially those that are close to military bases that have the opportunity to grow their business by providing training in order to transition pilots coming out of the military in order to get their fixed wings ratings and make them attractive to the airlines. So that's coming up. And the last thing is just technology-wise. What's King Schools doing technology-wise? Well, we've just come out with a Flashcard app that's available on, there it is, available on the iPhone, on the iPad, and gives our customers the opportunity to be able to study flashcards anywhere, because it's available online or offline. And it's even for pilots that are past, their certifications. In order to review, it's a wonderful tool. You have 5 minutes to just download and use the Flashcard app in order to review some of the topics in your instrument curriculum or private pilot curriculum. As a flight instructor especially, it can be very useful. So that's one new tool. We have more new tools in process. We have a whole new technology platform that we're building on top of that allows us to take apps like the Flashcard app and be able to deploy it on iOS for iPhone and iPad or Android or to the web. And you're going to be seeing very soon more and more apps coming out on top of that platform. So we're very excited about that. So that pretty much wraps up the press conference. And I'd like to open it up to any questions you'd like to ask John and Martha. Or me, or Brian, or Karen. Any questions at all about anything that I've talked about or messed up? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming. I invite you to hang out and corner myself or Brian or John and Martha or Leah. And we also have Sarah in the back here, who's a previous scholarship winner from us. And we're pleased to have her here. She's doing great things. You might want to check in with her. Yeah? And Terry, of course, Terry was our very first NAFI scholarship winner and is doing wonderful things for the 99s and in her own instructing. So there's plenty of people here to talk to. Please feel free to hang around. Thank you very much for coming.
Sarah, can I borrow you? Sarah, Terry, Leah, can I have you up there, please? And John and Martha, you're stuck with it. Thank you. I want to get the 5 of you together. Well, 6. You too, Barry. You're part of it.
I've got a severe contact with my booth. Thank you very much. You'll be getting your press release and thank you. Appreciate it. My pleasure. I'd like to stay. Yeah.
Sarah, Leah.
I have to try. Yep, you're right.
Well, not even just tour, meeting.
Okay. All right, on the count of 10,045. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Good. Works every time.
Thank you. Yeah, and actually,